Hey everybody, this is Russ from Retro Game Core. Let's do a quick video talking about my favorite grips for the AYN Thor. Now the company makes their own grip. I've shown this in other videos. It's $15 and it is a TPU grip. That means it's going to be a little bit more bendy and flexible than some of the other options that we'll be talking about today, which are 3D printed. This one is super easy to install. It just slides right in and it does feel good. Like, it does improve the ergonomics, but it's also kind of loose in it. Like, I can pull it out pretty easily. And I think it's because it's supposed to be used with their TPU shell, which is just a protector that you will put on the outside of the device. I've already shown this off in my other video, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about it. But yes, this TPU shell will give you additional protection, but is also quite fingerprinty and smudgy. And the nice thing about this one is that it does fit nice and snugly with the TPU grip. So if you do want to go the official route, then yes, you can get the grip, and I would also recommend getting the TPU shell just because it makes the grip a lot more snug and easier to use. But today I want to talk about community solutions, and I think these are a little bit more exciting. It's from an actual customer who gets it in their hands and we're like, you know what, I would really like to improve this in a certain way. And then it's always nice to see what they come up with and then share with others. And even though this device is relatively new, there are a bunch of solutions already up on here. We've got stuff like cases and grips, as well as snap-on triggers that improve that overall experience. And then also there are screen protectors, including some that are matte, that take away from the overall shininess of the inner display on the Thor itself. In this video, I'm just going to focus on the grips because I have a couple of these on hand, but I do think it's definitely worth checking this out. Just search for the words AYN Thor. One of my favorite contributors is Sakura Retro Modding. This guy has been around for years. In fact, some of the very first purchases I ever made on Etsy about 5 years ago were for some of the early Ambernic devices made by this person. They always have really nice attention to detail and throwbacks to other systems, and the AYN Thor options are plentiful. They've got soft vinyl stickers for the outside and the inside of the device. I really love the inside idea right here, just because it's going to take away from some of that shininess of that all glass display on the front. They've also got a lot of button options. I've tried out a bunch of these on other handhelds from them previously, and this is always an amazing experience. They are a bit more expensive, but that's because they are all custom made. I'll leave a link to all this down below. A lot of it just came out, and it's also shipping from France, so I don't have any of this stuff on hand just yet, but this is the place that I would go shopping first if I'm looking for accessories for my Thor. The first option that I have on hand is this one from Epic Printing Shop. These guys have been around for years as well, and they always make dual function grip cases. So these can slide on the front as being a protector, but then also work as a grip on the back. One unique aspect of this one is that it's got this soft TPU plastic liner on the inside. And so as opposed to the PLA plastic that you'll often find on 3D printed materials that's kind of hard and can often scratch your device if it's not made properly, this one is soft on the inside, and so it's not going to scratch it up at all. They've got a bunch of color options, including this black one, so there's like white and green and pink, but they will all have this black inner liner. That's because of that material inside. Now the case has two different slots to it, and it can be used in either way. Again, this is what this company specializes in, is making things interchangeable. So if you wanted to use it as a grip, you would put the thicker part along here and then slide it down. From there, when you open it up, you will now have a grip attached to it. So that inner liner right here is actually not attached to anything, but it gives you an additional grip here on the back because it makes it thicker. And so if you're going to use it in the grip mode, this is kind of what it's going to be like. It's a bit thicker. It kind of feels like holding maybe like an Xbox controller in terms of overall thickness right here. And then we have a slight ergonomic bump. It's still more flat than anything, but it does improve the ergonomics a little bit. It's a bit rounded on each side as well, so it doesn't have that squarish feel as you're holding it compared to like a 3DS or the Thor itself. So it does improve the ergonomics quite a bit. I think the number one thing here is just that it's a lot thicker. And so this does feel like I can hold it for a longer period. And the way they've designed it is that we have this indentation right here, and I found that I can put my middle finger like right around here for like nice leverage, and then I leave my two fingers underneath, and that's been pretty comfortable overall. When it comes to actual gameplay, yes, it does feel a bit more comfortable to hold, but I don't think it improves the ergonomics to the point where some games that are challenging to play, like twin stick shooters, are all of a sudden solved. Like, this still feels a little bit like a compromise. Like I've talked about in my other videos, the Thor itself is a bit of a compromise just because of the clamshell form factor, and there are going to be some ergonomics that are not perfect. So I would say in terms of grip, this improves things, but it doesn't solve them. And so I think that there are still better options out there, including the next one that we'll be looking at. One thing I do like about this design is we have additional material up here at the top and the bottom. And so when you close it, all of the stress will go onto those sections right there, as opposed to having that open gap. And so that's one of the things I like about this, is that even if I squeeze it, it feels like it's well protected. Now, the other thing about the Epic printing grips is that they are all reversible. So if you see right here, I can actually just use it as a protective shell as well. Now, I don't think the Thor actually needs that in any way, just because it's a clamshell, which means that, everything that's important is protected, but this does give you a little bit additional protection. For example, it closes up that gap that we have between the screen right there, so no dust is going to get inside. And it also is nice and compact compared to other grips when you have it used this way. So overall, I would say this is a clever design, and I love the fact that it's reversible and that it closes up the gap right here so we don't get any dust inside if you're going to throw this in a backpack. But at the same time, I also think that the grip itself doesn't really add a lot. It makes it thicker, but it doesn't really improve the ergonomics in a tangible way. One last note, I appreciate that Epic Printing Shop keeps their prices relatively low for being a handcrafted item. It's only $19 for this grip. That's going to be about $10 cheaper than most of the other grips that you will find on Etsy. Okay, up next we have the grip from Proto Print Lab. Now, these guys have been around for a while as well. They've got multiple different grips for various different handhelds, and there's two different options for the Thor. I've got them both here. Here's a couple examples of grips that I've used from them previously, and they've got a couple signature moves with theirs. Number one is that they've got this little indented design on the sides, which just feel a little bit more breathable as you're holding it, as opposed to just like a straight PLA that you will see often with 3D printed grips. So I've always appreciated this little texture here. And also, depending on the device, they will sometimes have cutouts right here, and this is so that you can access buttons, for example, here with the Game Boy Advance SP. And then finally, the third thing they always tend to do is they put the name of the device on the back, and I always appreciate that, especially because I got a lot of these grips, and so it's sometimes hard to figure out which one is for which device. So here are a couple examples of grips that I've enjoyed from them previously. We have the Game Boy Advance SP one here. It just adds a little bit of extra ergonomic grip to it so that it's not so fatiguing over time. And then also the RGB 30 from Powkitty. Now, this one's actually kind of comfortable on its own, but these ergonomics really do enhance the overall experience. I love the fact that they've got like a little indentation here for my middle fingers as well. And so, yeah, this is really comfortable too. And the Thor grips that they sent over for testing are very similar in terms of their overall design. So you can see that they have that same design on the sides right here, and it also has the name of the device on the back, and they also have those little middle finger indentations as well. And the design here is pretty self-explanatory. They do have these phone pads along here just to make sure you don't scratch your device as you set it inside, but otherwise, yeah, you just kind of slip it in there. Now, again, like with the other one, they've actually added like this additional bump right here on each side. So when you close it, it actually goes against these foam parts, and so I feel like this is even more protected. There are still a little bit of gaps right here, so if you were to chuck this in a bag, it is going to get a little bit of dust in there or lint or things like that, but overall I think it is a pretty handy design. And there are two different size options. They are both very similar looking. There is a narrow grip and then a wide grip. And essentially this just means like how much it's going to stick out on the sides. And that's really about it. The way they describe it is the narrow one is made for small and medium sized hands. I've got medium sized hands myself. And yes, it does add this additional grip right here. I like that it's nice and rounded too. So it just feels like a very natural and seamless grip overall. They also say that this one is a bit more designed for D-pad centric gaming. And that kind of makes sense as well. If you have something that's a little bit more wider, that means your hands are going to go out like this, which makes it more conducive to twin stick gaming. And we'll test that here in a second. And so personally, yeah, I agree with their assessment. I think if you've got medium-sized hands or small-sized hands, this is going to be an excellent fit. If you've got bigger hands, I bet you would probably want to have a bigger grip. And I think that's where the wider grip comes into play. Now, with the wider grip, you can see there's more material on the sides, and then also it sticks out quite a bit more from the bottom. And naturally, my hands just shift down a little bit lower on the Thor as I'm using it, but then I can take advantage of that leverage that I have here on the bottom as well. And so yes, naturally, this feels like a better twin stick setup. And so personally, yes, if I'm going to be focusing on first-person shooter games, or maybe some more modern games like PC games through Winlater and GameHub, this is the kind of control setup that I'm going to use for the most part. It's also got that same setup that we saw previously, so when you close it down, it does have those foam inserts, which will then pad it a little bit better. And then also, yes, we have that same kind of grip size here on the back. Now, the one cool feature about this one is that we have a space here for a stylus. In fact, for two different styluses, and you can order one directly from them when you buy the grip, or you can also add the Nintendo Switch one. And so the way this works is when you pick it out, you can pick either the narrow or the wide grip. It's going to be $29 for each of them. And then for an additional $3, you can also have it come with a stylus. And so this is what their stylus looks like. It's got a little lanyard on it, as well as a 3.5mm headphone jack thing, so you can plug it in directly in there if you need somewhere to hold it. And it also does extend, so it gets a little bit bigger. Now, honestly, this one feels a little bit cheap. I did a whole stylus video, and I had a very similar one that I tested before, and I don't like that it feels kind of a little bit hollow and cheap, but again, it's $3. So the idea with this one is that you can just pop it in on this side, and then you can pull it out with the lanyard, and that's basically it. Now, on the other side, we've also got a hole, and that's for the Nintendo Switch stylus. I show this one off in my stylus video, and this one fits perfectly. So you just kind of slide it in here. There's a little notch that you have to line up. And then once you do that, you can just kind of push it in. And so from there, if you want to get it out, you would just kind of push against the side and then pull it out. And so you can also have this stylus here as well, either with or without the stylus that they also offer. Now, my favorite stylus is this little guy. So this has got a disc tip to it, and it also feels a lot more solid than that hollow one we were talking about before. You can also get this one on Etsy. I've shown it off in other videos. I'll also leave a link down below. Unfortunately, this one does fit inside, but when you pull it out, I found that it'll pull the tip out sometimes. And so then you got to grab your tip and then put it back in. It's just a little bit of extra work right here, and I feel like it gives a little bit more wear and tear on the tip than I would like. And so personally, I have not been using this one with this particular grip. It almost fits. It's so close to be frustrating, just because this little disc part will get caught if you try to pull it out. And so that's just kind of unfortunate. But otherwise, I think that, probably a good fit would be the Nintendo Switch stylus. This one's, I think, around $15 on Amazon. And so that's probably the best way that I would use it. And I love the fact that it allows me to store these stylus. That's one of the problems that I had with the Thor, is that I wish that it had a way to store these styluses as well if you're going to be playing DS and 3DS games. And so when it comes down to it, this is my favorite grip, the wide grip one right here from Proto Print Lab. And the way they describe this wider grip too is that it's made for medium and large size hands and those who are focusing on twin stick gaming. And this is a very comfortable setup, not only for twin stick games, when playing my favorite first-person shooter or a more modern PC game. It also works really well for D-pad centric games as well. I find it just to be overall a better comfortable experience compared to just using the Thor on its own. Also, the fact that we can store a decent stylus inside of it as well just kind of wins me over. Like, I love these little touches right here. This is only the kind of thing that a community member would come up with, and I love this overall idea. And so I've had this grip on my Thor for about a week now for this testing, and I gotta say, it's like a permanent fixture at this point. I love the fact that it improves the ergonomics, and it's still not that much bigger than the Thor itself, and then I love the fact that I can also store my stylus inside. They've got a bunch of color options too. I'm probably gonna pick up something besides this gray one. I love the fact that we have a ton of different combinations to choose from. I think this rainbow color option with the tan shell makes it conducive to trying out bigger and bolder colors. So I don't know, I'm thinking maybe orange or green, maybe pink or blue. I'm not really sure, but I feel like it's going to transform the overall look of my Thor, and I like that idea. So there you go, a quick and easy video just talking about my favorite grip for the AYN Thor, and I definitely think this one from Proto Print Lab gets my major recommendation right now. I do plan on getting some other accessories for the Thor, like some additional buttons and maybe a matte protector on the bottom. Let me know what you'd like to see in the comments down below. As always, thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you found this helpful, and we will see you next time. Happy gaming.